Chelsea are stepping into a new chapter. Enzo Maresca's first year at Chelsea was about laying foundation, building an identity, identifying the players that fit naturally into the system, and allowing them to learn and acclimatise to the new setup. But amidst all that, we were able to win 2 major trophies, and that was just the start. And this season, the approach is changing again. Stick around to see how the game plan will change this season, how new signings will fit, and why this season Chelsea will shock the Premier League. Not because of a single signing, or even multiple, but because Maresca's tactical setup has quietly evolved into something that could make Chelsea unstoppable when and not if it clicks. We're beginning a new season and Chelsea have made big signings, waved goodbye to some players, and in the first couple of games, Maresca has shown that he is not afraid to adapt depending on the opponent. What's become clear though is his blueprint. Chelsea are moving towards a more defined, possession-based, heavy system ever since his arrival. A 3-2-4-1 shape in possession, if you will. It's detailed, flexible, and perfectly suited to one of the youngest and most talented squads in world football. So in this video, we're breaking it all down, the tactics, the new players, and what it means for Chelsea chances at competing at the very top. Now first off, in terms of the tactical shape, Maresca will stick with a 3-2-4-1 in possession that became Chelsea's trademark last season. Out of possession, it shifts into more of a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-2-2, but the key word is fluidity. In possession and out of possession, the transition needs to be fluid. This is straight out of Guardiola's playbook at Man City, where Maresca learnt his trade. But unlike Pep, Maresca can lean on some Italian pragmatism. He can tweak depending on the opposition, the available players, and even just the rhythm in a game. We've already seen examples of this, notably in the Club World Cup final against PSG, where Malo Gusto was utilised as the high, wide right outlet. It changed the attacking balance, but he was able to find loads of space out wide, which helped Cole Palmer get his brace. Also at times last season, Cucurella inverted into the midfield next to Caicedo, or even higher up as an attacker midfielder, which is how he scored so many goals in the great positions that he picked up. And when fit, Reece James often steps inside too, with Maresca identifying and pinpointing his strengths on the ball, crossing, and his defensive ability for a midfield role. Even 19-year-old Joshua Chempong has shown and impressed that he can slot into that role as well. One of the most fascinating things about Maresca's Chelsea is just how much footballing DNA comes from Guardiola, but also where he has chosen to deviate. He is not a bald clone. At City, Maresca worked with the academy sides, helping young players adapt to the positional football, and that background has been huge for Chelsea as this squad is built around youth. He has also worked with the likes of Palmer, Lavia, Delap in the past, and the emphasis is on positional awareness, discipline in the build-up, and creating triangles everywhere on the pitch straight out of Pep's playbook. But while Guardiola tends to stick rigidly to his shape, in pre-season and the start of the 25-26 season, Maresca has shown he isn't afraid to make in-game adjustments. Sometimes against high-pressing sides, he'll allow the keeper to go long if the opportunity arises. Whereas I remember distinctly when he was at Leicester, he publicly stated he would drop their goalkeeper Mads Hermansen if he went long under pressure. And against low blocks, he has used his fullbacks really high and wide to create overloads on one side, and maybe use more attacking players, as we've got a lot of attackers now. Notably against West Ham, he started Delap and João Pedro, and it's subtle, but these small adjustments mean Chelsea rarely look predictable, and that's why the tactical framework has been embraced so quickly by this squad full of teenagers and early 20-year-old men. So the base picture looked like this last season. A back three in possession formed by 2 centre-backs plus a fullback tucking inside next to them. A double pivot in front, almost always Moises Caicedo, accompanied by Reece James, Cucurella, or Lavia when he's fit. In front of them, 2 advanced attacking midfielders creating a box midfield, usually Enzo Fernandez and Cole Palmer, who were given quite free roles to get on the ball, arrive late, and just use their footballing IQ to their best ability to help the team. Either side of them were 2 inside wingers tasked with dribbling, stretching defences and breaking lines, and a striker up front to link play, press and finish the chances. It's not a rigid 3-4-3 or a static 4-3-3. I think one of the reasons we beat PSG in that Club World Cup final was because we knew what they were going to do. They had used the exact same shape with the exact same players really all season, and Maresca was able to predict where the weaknesses were going to be with the space at the fullbacks, because their fullbacks pushed so high, we came out on top. It's a real hybrid system, shifting depending on personnel and the opposition, and with new arrivals the shape only gets sharper. The build-up is what makes the system. It's deliberate, patient and methodical, very much like Guardiola's City, Arteta's Arsenal, where he learnt his trade from Guardiola at City. So ideally, when everyone's fit, Colwill will anchor the back three, Chalobah will maybe pull right, and then Cucurella will shift into the left. This is in possession, of course, while Reece James would sit inside next to Moises Caicedo. Crucially, Enzo Fernandez no longer drops deep, receiving the ball like he did under Pochettino or Potter. That experiment didn't really work, didn't get the best out of him. Instead, he plays higher, thriving closer to goal, while Caicedo handles the defensive load, dropping to collect the ball, breaking up play and recycling the ball with great composure. This is where Chelsea's endless rondo training comes alive. You watch the videos, they're always doing rondos. They invite the pressure, create overloads, and then play their way out with confidence. Even against high pressing teams like Liverpool or Arsenal last season, they stuck to their football, but if necessary, they won't be too stubborn. And if the moment comes to break, they can just flip the switch, just like in a 3-1 win over Liverpool at the back end of last season, where they sat deeper, absorbed the pressure, but countered with ruthless precision. It does require huge technical ability of the players on the ball, and that's what Chelsea have built, a squad full of that. And when you realise they've only had just one season to transform from the vibes and pass to Palmer tactics that Pochettino was trying to use, that's exactly what makes Maresca's implementation of his setup impress just a little bit more. Now moving on, the biggest difference from last season is the players. Chelsea have once again been extremely active in the transfer market, but this time the signings look tailor-made for Maresca's style of play. He is no doubt helping the sporting directors to the profiles that he wants added to our squad. Liam Delap, new striker, physical, direct, brings an outlet Chelsea didn't really have last year or for a long time really. João Pedro has been added, a technical, versatile and creative attacker. He can drop deep or finish chances like he did in the Club World Cup. With Jackson and Nkunku on their way out, he looks like a starter no matter who's playing. Now we add Esteval, a fearless Brazilian winger. He can create, he can score and thrives 1 versus 1. Not to mention Jamie Gittins, another tricky winger who offers a lot of energy and rotation. Add to that Andre Santos, Dario Esugo, 2 young midfielders who can step in like for Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo. Further, we've added a defender in Uriel Hato, a ball-playing defender who suits Cucurella's position perfectly, but we'll have to learn off him and be patient, as Cucu is one of our most important leaders and players in the team. I'll have to mention, as I'm recording this video, the transfer window isn't shut and we're still looking to add. Alejandro Garnacho looks highly likely to join at the current point in time. He's a proven Premier League winger, whether you like it or not, with explosive end product. He has been inconsistent, but he is in a horrible Manchester United team, and I'm thinking of making a video on why Garnacho's addition to Chelsea isn't as bad as people may think. Murmurs of Xavi Simons has also quietened, but today there were rumours about other options like Fermin Lopez or others, but what I can tell, we're looking to add another attacking midfielder, maybe to reduce the workload of Cole Palmer and push him for a starting place, especially in the cup competitions in Europe. But the young signings aren't just here to fill squad depth. They have been perfectly profiled for their mentality, resilience, willingness to press, and the hunger to prove themselves on the big stage. Players like Esteval and Garnacho won't just bring flair and a bit of fun to our team. They bring intensity and really hard working, which is why I think Maresca will love them. Even Delap, who may not have the technical polish of João Pedro, fits well with the sheer work ethic, and don't get me wrong, he's good in the ball. He can drive forward, and little flicks like he's done in the first couple of games excite me. This matters as Chelsea are trying to close the gap, not in only quality, but in mentality, with the likes of City and Liverpool. In the past, Chelsea may crumble after conceding. I went through a stage where I couldn't remember the last time we came back from a losing position. But now the focus is on sticking to the system no matter the scoreline. Trust in your teammates, and there's a big psychological shift. And don't forget the reintegration of Wesley Fofana, who immediately raises the defensive level when he's fully fit. And the result of all this, a squad that's transformed. Deeper, faster, more creative, and ready to compete on the highest level in every game. Another underrated part of Chelsea's transformation is the mentality in the dressing room. For years during the end of the Abramovich era, with the exception of the Champions League winning year and the start of the Bluco era, Chelsea had no identity anymore, which was a sad sight. I sort of fell out of love with football for a temporary time. Managers were coming and going, players were chopped and changed, and results were so inconsistent. But what Maresca has done in just one season has given the players a certain sense of purpose and got the fans back on side. Now we're going to focus more deeper on the attack, midfield and defence, starting with the attack. Last season, Chelsea created plenty of chances, but I still think we lacked a killer edge. If you watch Man City, they've got Haaland who scores half chances for fun. Liverpool have Salah who has exactly the same. And the reason Arsenal and Chelsea haven't won a Premier League in a while is because they don't have someone to just be absolutely confident in front of goal. Nicholas Jackson has worked hard and helped Cole Palmer get the best out of him. But at Chelsea, I've said it for a while, you're not going to win a Premier League with Nico Jackson as your striker. He lacks composure in front of goal, and I think it is time to move on from him. But I am grateful for his services at the club, and I wish him all the best. And when Cole Palmer last season inevitably dropped in form due to his incredibly high standards, the whole attack lost rhythm, and the team's form just went off a cliff. This season, however, I think it will be a completely different story. João Pedro and Liam Delap will share striker duties. Pedro is technical, creative and really calm. He's great at bringing in other players as a false nine with flick-ons. He's got that Brazilian elegance when he plays the beautiful game. And Delap is proper English, to be fair. He's physical, direct, relentless. But the key is that they can both finish, something Chelsea missed for a long time. And on the wings, we can now rotate really nicely with Esteval and Neto as the left-footed right wingers, and Gittins and hopefully Garnacho as the right-footed left wingers. They're all capable of beating their defenders, but also scoring at the end of the phase of play. Last season, we've seen Neto on the left, we've seen Madueke on the left, and they just never seem to get the best out of them. But our attacking options look so sharp and ready this season. Palmer will of course remain the central playmaker, but with faster runners around him and more lethal attackers, I'm expecting even more assists than he has in the past 2 years. If you add Enzo Fernandez making those late box runs that he was doing in the second half of last season, consistently arriving for cutbacks and second balls, you can see Chelsea finally sharing the goals out between the entire attack. The bottom line, Chelsea's attack looks complete for the first time in years. But even with all this firepower, one issue has remained front and centre for ages. It's breaking down the low block. We drew 0-0 with Crystal Palace recently, and the likes of Brentford, Nottingham Forest, and all of those will sit deep, have 11 players behind the ball, frustrate Chelsea, and then go and win 1-0 on a counter. We've seen it happen so much over the last 4 or 5 years, really. The possession becomes sterile, the sideways passes just increase, and even in the stands, the frustration builds. This is where I think Maresca has been drilling patterns of play relentlessly, and the emphasis should now be on creative overloads in the half spaces, those channels between fullback and centre-back. At Man City, this is how Kevin De Bruyne got so many goal involvements under Pep Guardiola. He made late runs in the half space or pulled himself back to put in a dinky cross to the back post. And when Cole Palmer, or let's say Xavi Simons for the sake of it, will drift into that pocket as well, it forces defenders to make uncomfortable decisions. Do they step out and then leave a gap behind for João Pedro or Esteval to exploit? Or do they sit in and just wait for Palmer to score? The other weapon we have now is the dribbling chaos. Esteval, Garnacho, Neto and Gittins aren't afraid to take on their man 3, 4, 5 times in a row. That constant pressure will eventually force mistakes, wear fullbacks down, and then you add Enzo making the perfectly timed runs, João Pedro dropping into link play, or offering a headed goal threat. Him and Delap are great headers of the ball. Chelsea suddenly now have multiple solutions to break down stubborn defences. If this improvement clicks, Chelsea won't just look good for big games where we have the crowd behind us, as well as the games like West Ham where they're open, they're trying to come onto us, but we just exploit that. We finally should start winning the should-win games, like the Brentfords, like the Bournemouths. No disrespect to Bournemouth, they're a great team now. The games that have cost us so badly in the last 5 years, really. Okay, moving on to midfield. The £200 million pairing of Caicedo and Enzo will remain the engine. Caicedo wins the ball back, Enzo creates and scores. But this year, there is depth behind them. Andre Santos and Dario Sugo can step in without breaking the structure at all. They are like-for-like additions to our team. Romeo Lavia offers a really unique other pivot option when he is fit, at least. And then even James, Cucurella, Hato can invert and add to the midfield. In transitions, Maresca prefers patience. Win the ball back, recycle it, get the composure back and rebuild. But when the opening is there, he's not going to stop them from going direct. Last season there was a beautiful goal. Well, there was an opposition corner and we scored from 2 passes, Palmer to Neto to Jackson, goal. With Delap now available and other rapid attackers, the outlet does become more dangerous, and our midfielders' vision are really elite in Caicedo, Enzo. It's looking exciting. In defence, however, there are some challenges. Levi Colwill's injury is a huge blow. Tosin Adarabioyo looks the natural anchor. He's solid, disciplined, I really like him. Great signing on a free, but he's not the most progressive passer. Joshua Chempong is immensely talented and I love the guy. He should hopefully see far more minutes this season. He's so good on the ball, however, that maybe Maresca would have preferred to develop him as an inverted fullback instead of now having to force him at centre-back for cover. Badiashile, Fofana and Chalobah then will operate adjacent to Tosin and provide depth and competition amongst themselves. So Chalobah is the only one that I really trust and seems the only consistent name and most sure on the ball. Fofana is coming off another long-term injury. Badiashile's not injury-free himself really, but I can see high-profile errors costing us from those guys in certain games. Cucurella is continuing to shine at left-back with now Hato learning behind him and managing his minutes. Reece James, when fit, is one of the best in Europe at what he does, but must be carefully managed too. The weak spot in the team personally still remains the goalkeeper. With Petrovic sold, Chelsea were still only left with Sanchez and Jorgensen for options, both decent with their feet, good shot stoppers, but far too inconsistent as a Chelsea number one and have the potential for high profile errors. They aren't long-term options for us, for me, and perhaps next year, next summer, it will be addressed. But I'm just praying that leaving it 12 months won't cost us the league or a trophy. So out of possession now, Chelsea press high in a 4-4-2 really, which is going to be led by Delap's relentless energy if he's playing, or João Pedro otherwise. Palmer presses slightly angled just from behind, cutting the passing lanes, while the wingers like Pedro Neto have got to have huge work rates to get back and forward. Neto's work rate at Chelsea is something I absolutely adore. It's brave, aggressive and designed to suffocate the opponents and win the ball back as soon as possible, as having the ball yourself means that the opposition cannot score. Something that hasn't been talked enough about though is the importance of defensive chemistry. Chelsea's defenders have looked like strangers in recent years. Thiago Silva, I think, has been doing an insane job at his age to keep the backline sort of organised as constant injuries and rotation disrupt partnerships. Last season it was okay, Colwell grew into his role, but the injury is pretty horrendous to be fair. This season, however, Maresca will be determined to build consistency. It should be Tosin and Chalobah who can lock down the central pairing, while Cucurella and James can provide the inverted options, and suddenly the defence has a stable spine. And then there's set pieces. Bernardo Cueva is starting to transform Chelsea into a team that can actually score from corners and free kicks. In the Premier League, where there's such fine margins that can often decide results, this is massive. Maresca knows that if the attack is maybe misfiring, one well-rehearsed corner could win the game. Chelsea scored 3 against West Ham alone. Previous routines look sharp, sometimes short to draw markers out. Near post flick-ons from Cucurella look pretty effective, with the likes of Tosin, Chalobah, João Pedro, Delap pouncing on second balls. Defensively, I think set pieces look more organised than ever as well. Instead of panicking or going man-to-man, we had the zonal marking which works the best in football at the professional level really. Relying on the aerial ability of Tosin and the centre-backs really, in particular, to win the first contact. So for the first time in years really, Chelsea now have 2 quality players in almost every position. With the Champions League again, plus cups and the league where we're going to try and go as far as we can in everything, depth will be crucial. Look out for Pedro versus Delap depending on the opposition. Constant winger rotations, keep it fresh and avoid injuries. I think the midfield will be rotated really smartly to avoid burnout, and whoever the new attacking midfield signing in Simons, Fermin Lopez, covering Palmer when needed and pushing him for a starting spot, because Xavi Simons isn't going to come here to be a bench option. He is a huge talent and will be for the long-term future if he joins Chelsea. So where does this leave Chelsea? With the tactical clarity, the improved depth and real firepower, Chelsea are genuine title contenders again. But the Premier League is brutal. Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool now have elite teams as well. Everyone's recruited amazingly, and realistically Chelsea should target another top 4 finish. But if everything clicks, don't rule out a title job. Maresca has shown that he won't abandon his principles, even in the biggest of matches. In the Club World Cup, in the final, he basically trusted the same 11 from the quarters and the semis, just substituting some players here and there in the starting team. And then in the final, we blew away the European champions 3-0. That conviction should run through the squad throughout the season. And the biggest improvement in my opinion is the goals. Chelsea finally have goal scorers who can finish chances. That dink from João Pedro in the Club World Cup final was exactly what we could have done with in the past 5 years. And then just yesterday we smashed 5 goals past West Ham. And here's a bold prediction. I think Joshua Chempong will force his way into the 11 at centre-back and will hopefully build a long-term Cobham-based partnership with Levi Colwill when he returns for the years to come. Beyond just this season, what Maresca is building is a long-term identity. For the first time since the early 2000s, Chelsea aren't just chopping and changing managers and playing styles. There's now a defined plan. Play possession football, trust young talent, and create a system that is flexible and recognisable. This is why Cobham graduates like Achempong, Colwill, Reece James are so important for the next generation. They're not just filling squad roles, they're being developed into specific tactical specialists within a clear framework. And when you combine that with elite young signings from Europe and South America, you suddenly don't have a squad that's built for the upcoming season, you have the squad that's built for the next 5. It hopefully also means that Chelsea can finally compete with City, Liverpool and Arsenal, not just on talent, but on clarity of vision. That matters when you're playing 60 games a year. Pep's had his own era. Arne Slott's just coming in to add on to Jurgen Klopp's era. Arteta is in Arsenal's Arteta era. We had Pochettino for 1 season, Potter for 1 season. Maresca should be our long-term coach who really involved with everything going on at the club. The players this season will now know their roles a lot better than last, and fans can see the style. Even when opponents know what's coming, the possession-based football, they're going to struggle to stop it. And if Maresca is given the time, Chelsea may not be chasing trophies for this season, but instead laying foundations for an era of trophies. And the long-term era is hopefully what we're about to see the second instalment of this season. The 3-2-4-1 remains the base, but the personnel has changed. With Pedro, Delap, Garnacho, Estel and others, Chelsea finally have a complete attacking unit. With midfield depth now and defensive flexibility, this squad is built to compete. Yes, the goalkeeping situation still lingers as a weakness, and sporting directors being reluctant to bring in a new centre-back will be a hurdle we will have to jump over. But the direction is clear. Chelsea are young, fearless and ready to climb back to the very top. So what do you think? Can Chelsea actually challenge for a Premier League this season, or is it still 1 or 2 years too early? Let me know your predictions in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more Chelsea content. Thanks for watching.